Imu is the strongest character in One Piece. We have seen him take simultaneous named attacks from 6 of the strongest old gen characters, and he didn't even blink. In Elbaf, he casually one-shotted both Zoro and Sanji, and has been playing around with Loki and Ragnar, the duo that took down Holy Knight Harold, whom you can scale to the same tier as Dami Reversy rocks. And let's not forget to mention Luffy himself, who is now stronger than ever. Now, while there is still so much more to see, I think we have seen enough to break down all of Imu's abilities. From his Devil Fruit and his Immortality, to the Abyss, the Omen, or rather his Maki, and of course his Haki, this will be a complete breakdown of everything Imu can do. Starting off with Imu's Devil Fruit, we have the Akuma no Mi itself. It is likely a mythical Zoan based on the Sea Devil, because as you know, the devil in the world of One Piece itself is the Sea Devil, and it was established long ago that all Devil Fruits are simply incarnations of this entity. This explains how Imu was able to bestow mythical Zoan abilities directly onto the 5 elders. Plus, it also explains how Imu can seemingly manifest multiple abilities that normally belong to other Devil Fruits. For example, look at the way the trees and houses of Elbaf reacted to Imu's arrival, where they suddenly started moving and singing. That is like the homies created by Big Mom's Soul Fruit. Next is his ability to force a binding contract onto a victim, is something we've previously seen with Sugar's Hobby Fruit and Moria's Shadow Fruit. In Sugar's case, she could strip someone of their free will to make them a toy slave. And in Moria's case, he could force shadow constructs into his targets. Both of these operate kind of like Imu's Dami Reversy. Moving on, we also see Imu pull out a grimoire to physically manifest objects, which is like Charlotte's Montior's Book Fruit. As for his method of generating bullets and bombs out of thin air through black flames, that is like Baby 5's Arm Fruit or Mr. 5's Bomb Fruit. Then you have the way Imu deploys a circular zone for spatial manipulation, which is like Law's Opie Fruit. His constant regeneration is like Marco's Phoenix Fruit, while his ability to increase his physical size is like Luffy's Nika Fruit or Wolf's Huge Fruit. And if you also count the unique abilities of the 5 elders as an extension of Imu's own power, the amount of abilities just gets ridiculous. What do you think though? If Imu's fruit is truly the primordial Sea Devil Fruit, does he have the power to wield every type of Devil Fruit ability? Now, while we're talking about his Devil Fruit, let's talk about his Zoan transformation. So far, we have only actually seen his hybrid form. His base form is still a silhouette, and the same goes for the full beast transformation we saw back in chapter 1085. So for now, the only thing we can really go off of is that hybrid form. Let's see, he possesses multiple Lunarian traits like the wings, the flaming halo, and the ability to generate flames. But by flames, we mean black flames like Itachi's Amaterasu from Naruto. Then there is Imu's Devil Tail, which is what he used to kill King Cobra and almost take out Sabo. That tail also has ridiculous defense stats to the point where it's easily blocked a direct advanced Conqueror's Haki sword attack from Zoro. Overall, whether it's officially called the Sea Devil or just the Devil, Imu's transformation is that of the devil, so his full beast transformation is likely going to be the complete manifestation of the One Piece Devil itself. Who knows? The latest chapter at the writing of the video script is chapter 1187, and Imu versus Luffy is going to be happening next, with Loki potentially joining in later as well to make it a 2-on-1. Oda may show us both Imu's full beast transformation and Loki's hybrid transformation in the upcoming chapters, or maybe it already has been shown by the time you get to watch this video. But alright, now that we have done a quick breakdown of his Devil Fruit and transformations, let's talk about each of his major abilities individually. First, we have his telekinetic force. You may remember how Saturn can use an invisible force to cause explosions that could literally blow a person's head off. As it turns out, that kind of invisible telekinesis is something Imu can use as well. We have already seen him striking Brook from a distance and also redirecting one of Usopp's pop green shots right back at him. Next up is the Grimoire Book ability. We have seen that Imu can summon a book featuring a pentagram on the cover, which he uses to manifest a shadowy substance that can then transform into different kinds of highly weapons. As an example of these weapons is when he pulled out a high caliber gun and used it to blast Brogy's hand right off his arm. Then there is his environmental manipulation. As I mentioned earlier, the moment Imu transformed on Elbaf, the surrounding trees and houses immediately came alive and turned into demonic homies. Now this could be Oda's way of showing us that Imu's fruit is awakened, which makes sense. He has been around for over 8 centuries, he better have awakened that fruit. Next on our list is Imu's immortality. Now while there do seem to be some limitations to this, such as the way he started coughing up blood the moment he stepped foot on Elbaf, his regeneration is still simply ridiculous. I mean, he took simultaneously named attacks from Rocks, Roger, Garp, Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom all at once, and he was fine. Without a doubt, that is the single greatest defensive feature in One Piece. In fact, not even the actual hybrid Imu we are seeing on Elbaf right now is touching that level of durability. I mean, unlike the Imu at God Valley, the hybrid Imu has been hurt by Loki, and then that punch by Luffy at the end of chapter 1186 also clearly made Imu bleed. So as much as I'd like to hype up Imu's durability features at God Valley, it's also obvious by this point that the only reason God Valley Imu didn't feel anything is because he was physically not there. If it had been this hybrid Imu at God Valley, he would have been hurt and likely a lot worse than all the damage Loki and Luffy have done to him. Anyways, moving on from his defense, we have to talk about the Abyss. This is the magic circle that enables instantaneous teleportation between any 2 locations marked with an Abyss sigil. As you know, this is what Saturn used to summon the rest of the 5 elders to Egghead, and it's also thanks to the Abyss that the Holy Knights and eventually Imu himself were able to instantly appear on Elbaf. Now while the elders and the Holy Knights have only ever used these marks for teleportation, Imu can also use the Abyss offensively. We saw this back in chapter 1150 when he literally summoned cannon barrels right out of the Abyss. After this, we have Imu's next ability, the Covenant. This is his personal power exchange system, and it's structured into 3 tiers. First, you have the Shallow Covenants. These don't actually grant you any special powers, and Imu's control over you is strictly limited to Marijoa. This is the mark Shanks used to have on his left arm, which he was able to break free from the moment he sacrificed that arm to save Luffy. The second tier is the Depths Covenant, which it seems is granted to the Holy Knights. This tier grants you functional immortality alongside the ability to utilize the Abyss for travel. The trade-off, however, is that Imu can now control you regardless of where you are. Finally, we arrived at the third tier, the Abyssal Covenants. The 5 elders are the example of Abyssal Covenant users, and it's been heavily implied that this is the tier where Imu gives you mythical Zoan transformations. After all, every elder has one. And it's possible that Shamrock is also an Abyssal Covenant user. I mean, his sword can transform into a Cerberus, and just like the bizarre transformations of the 5 elders, his sword's introduction box omits the name of a devil fruit. Instead, it simply labels it as Cerberus. Plus, the Cerberus blades and the ground beneath it become instantly coated in black flames, which is similar to the aesthetic associated with Imu and the 5 elders' abilities. Ultimately, Imu can also manifest through the elders, like how he did through Mars during the Esperia Kingdom flashback and through Saturn during the God Valley flashback, and it seems he can also do it through Gunko, as we saw on Elbaf. Another thing to note about Gunko is that her eyes, the bipolar irises, are special. Now the downside to these covenants is that they require a physical cost from Imu that we don't know about yet. For example, right after Holy Knight Harold was killed by Loki, Imu was visibly affected to the point where he refused to deploy any more Holy Knights to Elbaf, which, to be completely fair, was a wise decision on his part. Harold was undeniably Imu's strongest overall soldier since the Void Century. To give you an idea, just imagine if Kaido had the ability to instantly regenerate from every single wound during the raid on Onigashima. The entire alliance would have been completely cooked. That is the kind of nightmare Harold represented, and yet Loki still managed to put him down. Therefore, anyone else Imu sent into Elbaf would have just been free EXP for Loki. So what do you guys think? what would be the cost Imu has to pay for the Covenant? And do you think this cost explains why the Depths and the Abyssal Covenants are strictly capped at 13 users? But moving on from the Covenants now, we finally have the Dami Reversy. This is Imu's corruption ability, which allows him to forcibly turn an unwilling victim into a demon. Once transformed, the victim gains a demonic immortal body with vastly enhanced physical strength, but at the cost of some of their lifespan and their free will. Even Roxy Zebek, the single strongest pirate of his era, was unable to fight back once the Dami Reversy kicked in. It took a combination of the strongest advanced Conqueror's Haki attacks from both Garp and Roger to finally bring him down. But as it turns out, there are actually a few ways to break out of it. For example, as we've seen with Dory and Bragi, actually killing a Dami Reversy victim can paradoxically break you out of it. Chopper also seems capable of reversing the effects of the Dami Reversy, though how he pulls this off is a mystery. Another thing to note is that Dami Reversy failed against both Luffy and Loki. This implies that individuals wielding mythical Zoan devil fruits, which inherently possess independent wills of their own, may have an immunity to Imu's corruption. But finally, we have to talk about Imu's martial might, the Omen. The Omen is Imu's demonic aura, the black flames that he refers to as his military might. In Japanese, this is called Maki, which has led to the theory that it is a dark counterpart or an inverse of Haki, but so far this is just speculation. As for what Omen does, offensively, the Omen can trigger localized explosions or instantly shapeshift into practically any weapon, for example, manifesting into a huge blade to impale Loki. Defensively, it can cleanly counter a direct Ragnir strike from Loki, an attack that was fully imbued with both lightning and advanced Conqueror's Haki. Plus, the Omen is the same thing Imu utilizes to expand his own size. That is how he was able to match Loki in size. And if that wasn't enough, Imu can even empower the Holy Knights by directly lending his own Maki to his subordinates, which we saw buff both Summers and Killingham. And to further add to this, each of the Omen flames seem to be sentient because, as we see in chapter 1187, the flames can talk between themselves, just like Big Mom's homies. Now let's move on and talk about Imu's named attacks so far. First is the Blade of Judgment, Nemesis. By using the Omen, Imu can shapeshift his standard pole arm into a sword staff that generates a dark flame-imbued blade. This is the move he used to stab Loki in chapter 1181, and honestly, that sword staff looked oddly similar to Mihawk's black blade, Yuru. What do you think? Anyone here supports the Mihawk is related to Imu theory? But next up we have the Gazing Eclipse. Imu expands the Omen circle floating on his back in order to use it as a firing catalyst. We saw him using this to launch a barrage of highly volatile Omen projectiles directly at Loki in chapter 1182. Then there is the Blade of Wrath, Graham. By imbuing his pole arm with Omen, Imu forms two blades of dark fire on either end and spins the double-bladed weapon in a circle. He used this to deflect a barrage of lightning bolts that Loki had summoned directly from the storm clouds in chapter 1183. Finally, there's Imu's latest technique as of the writing of this video script. It's Stigma, which he uses in chapter 1187 to first lock onto Loki by sending sentient Omen flames. Then as Imu shouts Stigma, a sword-shaped projectile manifests and pierces directly through Loki. Now to wrap all of this up, we have Imu's Haki. At this point in the story, Imu's Haki is definitely the undisputed #1 among every single living character in the verse. I mean, the moment Imu personally set foot on Elbaf, Gaban explicitly stated that his Haki was far greater than anything he had ever felt in his entire life, not even at God Valley. What do you think? Is that fair? Does Imu really have the strongest Haki in history? I think it's obvious, though Shanks and Dragon fans might disagree. Ultimately, as Imu said himself, his powers are built on three main things: corruption, covenant, and Omen. Corruption is the Dami Reversy, where he turns unwilling people into demonic slaves. Convenance are when people choose to serve him for their own selfish reasons or get tricked into it. Omen is his actual raw combat power. These three pillars make up what he calls domination, and every single ability Imu has, including whatever he shows us next, is just a different way of using domination. Now before we end the video, I should mention that Imu seems to have a nerf. The story has heavily implied that there is a big drawback whenever he leaves Marijoa. This must be Oda's way of showing us that Imu's true power will be seen in Marijoa. And there you have it, a full breakdown of all of Imu's abilities so far. I'm sure you guys have plenty to say about this, so let's keep the conversation going down in the comments below. And as always, if you guys enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on the next upload we put here on the channel. And if you have any other ideas of things you want to see, comment it down below as well. But till the next one, take it easy, and I'll catch you guys then. Peace.